Hello? I'm not doing so good. Well, I got suspended. So no, so yeah, I'm a student, but I don't feel like one. Yeah. hmm Well, like I there was women in this entire ordeal. There were no men, and I feel like these women had certain positions to where they could decide, you know, um, my status, and they didn't really they didn't approach this objectively. They were subjectively about it. Because I was told that I needed to attend, but then I was told that I didn't have to say anything. So Amy Coffey already, she says contradicting information, and she seemed to be going off of false records, because a lot of times those so-called evidence was seem to be fabricated to their end. It just in its biased approach. The last meeting, and I can send you a link. That last meeting, sorry, was basically her name was Maria. She was accusing me. She was telling me that I was breaking policy. Instead, they're supposed to ask me my side of the story, not tell me what I did wrong. Not tell me, because Maria was saying it's a fact. It's a fact that you did disobey the police officer. He told you to leave campus, and that's a fact. And I said, no, that's not even what the police officer said. And so she's spinning it to like she was there, and I'm having to correct her and say, you do not have the authority to sit there and tell me what I did, because you're asking me. You can't ask me to tell my side of the story and then try to shape it and even try to brainwash me into thinking that that's what happened. Because I know what happened. And so you got a white woman and a black woman both accusing me, a biracial man, of doing something when they don't have proof. They don't have any evidence. They say those witnesses, but then they don't tell me who those witnesses are. They don't even tell me that they spoke to those witnesses. So to me, they didn't have any witnesses. They just made that up. There were no witnesses because there was nobody around. So it's like people are just making things up for the sake of trying to get me suspended just because they don't like me. I don't know why that is. Like, I didn't do anything to these people. Like this Asian woman, Renee, she lied and said that I threw the checked out camera at somebody, and I didn't. And when I tried to confront her about it, she didn't want to tell me. because she couldn't explain the lie that she told me. I said, I know you're lying because you can't even tell me how I threw it. You can't even tell me what I did. She said those witnesses, and I said, with those witnesses, they can explain it. A lot of times in these meetings, they try to protect people's identities, and they try to say, well, we have such and such, but we don't have to show it. When you say you don't have to show it, you're saying you have nothing to show. So you're lying about witnesses. Because if you had witnesses, you wouldn't be afraid to call so and so to a meeting. We have to move away from this protecting identity and safety thing, because it's interfering with actual testimony. Like, as a witness, by the very nature of that, as a witness, you are taking a risk. That's why they have witnesses protection. In like big court cases, when somebody has to testify, that witness is taking a risk. So there is no safe method for safety other than witness protection. There is no safety standard. You are taking a risk whenever you're testifying. That's just common sense. So I don't think that like this protecting identity and saying things like, well, we don't have to tell you. No, you don't have to tell me who the person is, but you can at least tell me what he or she saw. If you can't even tell me that, then that's kind of like you're just throwing things around. You're not. That's not that. See, because that's hearsay. That's not admissible. I plan on getting a lawyer and taking this whole thing to court, because I want to force the school to prove their stance on my suspension, and I want to make the public aware of what they're doing, because people are spending money, and it's a free program, and yet certain teachers they're acting in certain ways to get rid of people that they deem as unnecessary. And I plan on going to the mayor and speaking to him about just getting rid of the free city program, because people are not appreciative of that. They can pay if they really want to. That's what I think. I don't think it's worth it. I don't feel like I'm wanted. Well, see, they're both women, so it's really because I say race because I'm biracial, and there's not a whole lot of people that are biracial. You're either black, Hispanic, Asian, or white. There's not a whole lot of mixed races, and I think that they know that I'm mixed, and so they see me as a threat, just because I'm not one race or another. I'm two different races, and there's not a whole lot of people like me in California in general. Our very number is like if you identify as a biracial individual, people don't know how to label that, and that to them that's dangerous. It's like we don't know where to put these people, and and we're not trying to move out of race. Let's face facts. We're not trying to move out of race. This is America. We're still very much racist. That's how it is. And as for gender, there was no man president in the meeting. If it had been a man president, I believe a man would be able to see that Maria kept interjecting me. She kept yelling. She actually kept yelling and interjecting me. And I told her, if you interrupt me one more time, I'm ending this meeting. Because I got fed up with her. She's at the point where she's trying to dictate. She's trying to tell me what I did instead of asking me, and trying to saying things like, I don't know her race, when clearly she was black, telling me who has authority and who doesn't. Like this is a Zoom meeting. Okay. So, well, okay, but see, I got to be careful, but they don't have to be careful. It just seems like she can be. It seems that like she's allowed to be unprofessional and sensitive about it, but I can't. I can't be sensitive about it. It's like when people insult me saying that you're, Middle Eastern. I can't rightfully say no. You don't know my ways. I can't do that. But they can, they can accuse me of things, but I can't do the same thing. It's just, to me, you know. Well, they didn't have to bring it up. They don't have to. They don't have to ever. They never brought it up because they don't have to. I realize that people in San Francisco, they racially discriminate without having to bring it up. The fact that they didn't want to hear me out was the fact that was because if I'd been Asian or Hispanic, they wouldn't have done me this way. Clearly, because those are the two most dominant. Those are the two money-making races. Those two races. They make money for San Francisco. They distribute money to San Francisco. Biracial, we don't really do much. We're not known. And the fact that Maria didn't see me as biracial means that she's been brainwashed to see a certain number of races as the ones to protect. Like if she had seen me as biracial, she should have seen. Like I said. It doesn't have to sound like it. It's her actions. Why else would she get so upset? Like, why are you getting so upset just because I claim to be black? Okay, you're mixed. Okay, if you're biracial, then you should understand from my point of view why this it even looks like discrimination because you're not even letting me speak. Like, you're not letting me present my case. You're asking me a question, and I'm willing to answer it. But you're throwing around accusations saying you didn't obey the officer, you did this and that, and then blah, blah, blah. And this is a biracial woman that's telling me this. And really, I don't care the color. If you tell me what I did, when really you don't know, to me, you're acting ignorant and you're not worthy of your position. Because the objective of that entire meeting was to find out what is going on. Not to throw accusations. And I might as well not even. To me, I think they wanted me to incriminate myself. They wanted me to incriminate myself. That's what they wanted me to do. Yes. And they always do that to colored people. They never do it to Hispanics. They never do it to Asians or whites. But they always do it to blacks. And I don't care what race Maria is. I know that she would do it to her own home people, blacks or Hispanics, blacks or biracial. I know that for a fact because she's in a position to where she doesn't care about people of her race. That's just how it is, and it's really sad. It's really sad because black women or biracial women, they say they're going to represent their race, but when they get in that position, they forget about where they came from, and they forget people that, even in their race, it doesn't make sense. Well, see, like I said, there were no men present. There was just women. And I felt outnumbered because they were not being objective. As a matter of fact, Amy was allowing Maria to berate me. She was allowing it. And there's a point when she muted me. She never corrected her coworker. And I told her multiple times, I said, if she keeps going on with this, I'm ending this meeting. Ending this meeting because I did not agree to come to be berated and to be harassed. That's what Maria was doing. She was actually harassing me. She was telling me, no, this is for a fact. She was coming at me like a prosecutor. This is not a court case. But if I were to take this to court, any judge would see this as your behavior as unprofessional, as you're not even asking the person what happened. You're telling him what he did. You're trying to spin the narrative to even brainwash him into thinking that. They're not going to get an apology from me because I'm not guilty of what I was charged with. I didn't assault anybody. I didn't threaten anybody. I didn't do any of that. They gave me all these rules I broke. And none of them fit. Like, yeah, so what if I yelled and cussed? Yeah, I was having a frustrating day that day. Instead of asking me what's going on, they wanna make assumptions. Well, you did this and you did this. You point the finger, so to speak. You were not there. You're supposed to come. Like, this affects people's mental health. You're supposed to come to them with what's going on, and try to address it from that point. Not try to smack me across the head and tell me to behave. You're not my parent. Maybe I saw something that's frustrating. Maybe there's a problem that's underlying that you don't see. Like I said, somebody reported me. Okay, the woman, Renee, the Asian woman, the photo lab manager, she reported that I threw the camera at her attendant, threw/forcefully handed, and I didn't do that. And I'm like, she was nowhere to be around. Maria was nowhere to be around. The only place she could have been in was in her office. She was in her office, actually. And from her point of view of that office, she wouldn't have been able to, she couldn't see what happened. And I'm guessing that maybe she somehow decided to create a lie that she saw me throw the camera. And nobody else saw it either. There was no witnesses. There was nobody there. There were no witnesses. As a matter of fact, the attendant, the so-called attendant, is not a witness. A witness is a third party. But the witness, but the attendant never got involved. So it's kind of like they're just. Well, who's the supervisor? Who? Okay, I wanted to talk to the chancellor. I wanted to talk to the chancellor because I want us to go as high as it can go. Because I want to make them all aware of their staff they're not professional. They're not performing according to the students' interests. They're trying to take matters. Because Maria, she took it very personally. She acted unprofessional. When I mentioned her race, she blew up, and that was not professional. She overreacted, and I don't care how sensitive she is about her race. You are to not act unprofessional in something that's being recorded. And I told them both. These actions that y'all have done will literally cost you your jobs. I'm going to push to have both of the employees fired and removed from the camp, removed from the college, because they shouldn't be in their positions. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah. Okay. All right. But for age, it was basically, you know, they thought I was a child. You know, I'm 33 years old, and it's just the way I look. They think I'm a child, and they think they can talk down to me. You know, if I had been older, if I had looked older, then they would address me differently. Because I didn't like the way Maria was addressing me. She kept saying, Michael, Michael, like I'm a child, trying to get me to shut up. Like, that doesn't make me shut up. Saying my name again and again is really gonna upset me. And their goal, like I said, their goal was never to find out what happened. Their goal was to berate me and make me act in a way that would justify them suspending me. They were trying to do that. They were trying to, as you in criminal justice terms, they were trying to railroad me. They were trying to throw me under the bus. You know, because they like I expected it to be like them trying to find out what happened. You know, and I was going to tell my side of the story about what happened. I was going to tell them what I did and tell the whole thing. But anytime nowadays when you come to people with any information, it's used against you. And this is exactly why people don't go to police. This is why people don't like to speak, because they always twist the story for their own benefit. And to hear Maria saying, like, the police said, in his report, it says that you disobeyed the officer, and the officer asked you to leave the campus. The officer never asked me to leave the campus. And I even called the chief. I called the campus police department and spoke with the chief.
Hello, Moto.
And I told him what they said, and he looked at the report and he said, no, I do remember the officer talking to me, but I think another officer was supposed to talk to you, and that didn't happen. You left before the officer could talk to you and tell you that you're not allowed on campus. You know, so apparently an officer was supposed to, but an officer never told me that. And then, you know, he said he was going to get with Amy. He was going to get with Amy, and it's already been confirmed that that was a mistake. The police report was a mistake about asking to be left from campus, because the officer only asked me not to go back into the photo lab for that day. And then he said, "Don't ever go back because you said you've been banned." So obviously, Renee knows that I need that lab to print my photos for my class. And she got me banned, you know, saying she's concerned for her safety over something that she caused, because she wants me to fail. And I've had problems, like, I don't know why Renee would do that. Honestly, I don't know why, but she never liked me. She had a smug attitude. Last year. Spring 24th. when I was trying to return my equipment that I borrowed, she told me that I needed to show her that it works, and she had me wait for about 7 to 10 minutes before she got to me. There was nobody standing in line, and she knew I had to go to class because I literally had class at that time. But I wanted to return the lights, and so she told me to put the lights on a table. I did, but I couldn't find a table. I couldn't find an outlet, like a power outlet. And so somebody else told me that there was a power outlet underneath. So I found it. So I found it, and I plugged up the lights. They worked. But as I was disassembling them and putting them back into the bag, they were kind of heavy, so they were touching. And she just said, "Please don't bang the lights." Assuming that I was banging the lights, when knowing that how heavy they are, there's going to be some touching. Like, that's natural. I didn't, I wasn't trying to break it, and I wasn't going to. So, and then also I accidentally aimed the bright light at her in her eyes, and she's like, don't shine it in my face. And it's how she said it. It's like she was looking for me to do something that she could complain about. She's looking for it. She's looking for any little thing that she can use to report me about. And those two things were not enough, obviously. So after I returned the equipment, I thought about it. I'm like, I don't really belong here, because she's treating me like she doesn't like me, like she doesn't want me around. She never wanted me to borrow the equipment, but she couldn't really deny me anyway, because that would be an explicit form of discrimination, an explicit showing of discrimination. So she knew that. So, and I yeah, it's cinema studies, and also video editing and post production. I decided to try a photo class. I wanted to try a beginning photography, and like, I've already had issues with the professor before, the teacher. I told her before that I'm thinking about dropping the class because she moves too quick and she doesn't seem to want to answer questions. Because if you move so quickly, people are going to have questions. And, it's... And she said, "No, don't drop the class. I can work with you." I'm just telling her, like, honestly, if you're gonna move too quick, like, I don't feel like that you're not moving at the pace where I can learn it. Anyway, so that happened. Anyway, back to the lights. So I returned the lights, but I was thinking to myself, you know what? Since y'all don't want me here, y'all can just have your equipment back. I will gladly return your camera. I returned the camera. It was in a bag. So I took the bag off my shoulder, and I put it on the counter, and I opened it. I took my stuff out of the bag because I was using it also as kind of like a backpack. So I took my stuff out, and I returned it, and I pushed it toward the attendant. And I think at one point she asked me, "Is everything okay? Is the equipment okay?" And I'm like, and I started to pick it up to hand it to her, and she said, the attendant, she kind of grabbed it. She grabbed it to keep me from dropping it, which made sense because I grabbed it rather quickly. I guess out of frustration, I grabbed it quickly, and she didn't want me to drop it, so she grabbed onto it too. And I was like, you know what, and I told her I just don't feel like being here because it's like, just people that think that I can't be careful with the equipment. The equipment is fine. But if y'all think that way, then fine, I just won't be a part of it. And I think that what I said upset Renee to the point where she later decided to lie in her report. She decided to say, you know what, I'm going to say that he threw the camera at her, or he forcibly handed it to her. And I didn't forcibly hand anything. It's just, I was trying to grab it, and the attendant also grabbed onto it to keep it from dropping or whatever. And she was going to get it anyway. So it's just like, Renee decided to spin it, to where it seemed like I assaulted her. And that's what I'm saying. There's nothing in the description of what happened to even assume assault. Her going to say I assumed assault and then say witnesses, she's lying. And this is a faculty member lying on a student. And the college should just drop this entire matter because of that one fact. Because you got a faculty member that lied in her report, just like you got a false police report. You know, I mean, I could take this to court and sue the college because of this, because of misinformation or defamation. It's not going to look good. That's what I want. Yeah, but that can't